Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to the latest episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It is Thursday night, which means only one thing, a look back at the week that was, and then looking forward to this Saturday's Sky Bet League One game, which sees us travel to London to take on Lee Bowyer's Charlton Athletic. The Addicts looking to break into the top six after a difficult summer, but we'll get onto them in more detail. I've also got the thoughts of Charlton fan Sam Burgess as well to give an Addicts perspective, which is always good. In terms of the week that was, though, firstly, not a great deal's happened. There was no midweek fixture. The country's covered in snow. So the only news really was that potential talks or trials for two front men were delayed because Gills couldn't get on their Beechin's cross-training pitch. They've had to be shelved until next week. So it seems that we are still in the market and looking for a couple of strikers to come in and complement Verdane Oliver and John Akindi. But the covering of the white stuff means that will have to wait until after the Charlton fixture at the weekend. The other big news in the week was Samuel Barrett, the referee who was in charge of our live Sky Sports game last Friday, has admitted indirectly and apologised to Steve Evans and Gillingham Football Club that he did get the decision wrong to award Lincoln City a penalty. Fair play to the referee is all I can say. At least he's had the decency, whether it's directly or indirectly, is neither here nor there for me. He has said sorry. Doesn't help us in terms of the game or the result, with it evenly poised just at 1-0 at the time, but at least he's held himself accountable and admitted that he's made a mistake. So he apologised via the EFL head of referees, Mike Jones, who then contacted Gillingham Football Club and Steve Evans. So we put that to bed now. The other big thing breaking earlier today, Thursday, was that the powers that be in the English game of Hull co-signed a letter writing to the owners of both Twitter and Facebook in California, expressing their disgust at the ongoing online abuse of plenty of football stars over recent weeks and days. And it's only as recently as last night, I think it was, that Fulham star Yan Danda was racially abused due to do with his Asian heritage, I do believe. No place for it in the game, unfortunately, and it is still a massive issue. We can keep pretending that it's going away with the kick it out campaigns and everything, and the stuff that we're doing, and it has made great strides over the last 20 or so years, but there are still problems. I think social media, unfortunately, as good as it can be, only gives people a platform to abuse without being identified, and this is something that's been a topic of discussion on social media for the last few days. Should there be some sort of social media passport so that people are more accountable if they want to go and abuse people? And that's not just racially, it's all kinds of abuse. We've seen sexism, we've seen death threats. Steve Bruce has come out today and said that he's been made aware by his son Alex Bruce that he's had death threats, people saying they wish he died of COVID just because his football team's not playing well. These people, frankly, need to have their head wobbled because they're idiots. The scum of the earth, for me, to think that you can stoop so low and threaten people online with no comeback purely because a result's gone against your football side. It beggars belief for me. It's beyond comprehension that in the 21st century this is still going on. Axel Tuanzebe was another one. Anthony Marshall now a couple of weeks ago. Lauren and Reece James, who play for Manchester Ladies and Chelsea's men's team respectively, have both suffered. Karen Carney, I think it was subject to abuse the other week after she made a comment about Leeds United. Marcus Rashford was the biggest one, wasn't he, after all that he's done? Not that I'm saying it makes it any less right or any more acceptable that the others have suffered, but you just think that someone like Marcus, who's campaigned for kids up and down the country to be given free school meals during this pandemic that's lasted nearly 12 months, would almost be above it in a weird sense, but sadly not. And then more closer to home, there's a Bristol Rovers fan that I follow, Kaz May, who unfortunately made a tweet in jest regarding a Wickham result a couple of weeks ago and took absolute pelters from a lot of fans of various clubs. Seems that they stepped over the line as well. It wasn't just football banter, which she's wrote an article about and said she's happy with. She's happy to be made into a meme, a gif, and have football banter and a laugh like that because that's part and parcel of the game. But to have people comment about her body and her weight and her appearance is something that she couldn't deal with, and she's had a break from Twitter for a few days. She's been in on and off, and apologies, Kaz, if I've commented out of turn here, but I just thought I wanted to make it aware that it's not just high-profile sports stars. It is everyday people as well that suffer this type of thing, and it should be something that's monitored more closely. And I had a quick read through the letter, and the line that stood out was, despite meetings, and I quote, "your platforms remain a haven for abuse." Correct, they do. There's no accountability, there's no traceability. These people can put up a profile picture that's not their face, say what they want and get away with it. And it's up to the individual to block, delete and report, and nothing seems to be getting done. So fingers crossed that this letter will start having an effect. I think the owners of Facebook also co-own Instagram, but don't quote me on that, and they've started putting measures in place. So fingers crossed it gets the ball rolling and we see some real change. But I'm not going to hold my breath too much at the moment, unfortunately. Anyway, on to the weekend. We do travel to London, like I mentioned, where we take on this team. Charlton Athletic at the Valley. 2018 New Year's Day, we won there 2-0, didn't we? I think, or 2-1, sorry. Really good performance. Was part of a 4-game winning run under Steve Lovell. Since then, I'm not sure we've picked up any points. But looking at the comparative form of the two sides, last 6 in the league, Charlton, 1 loss drawn, 1 loss won, so 10 points from 18 available. Gills, lost 1 drawn, 1 drawn loss, 8 points from 18 available. So not a great deal of difference. In terms of home and away, Charlton on their own patch, 1 drawn loss, drawn loss. So only 1 victory at the Valley in their last 6 and 2 defeats in their last 4. 6 points from 18. Gills on their travels in the last half a dozen have got 7 points, and that's come from 2 wins, a draw and 3 defeats. Looking at Charlton in more depth, 14 goals scored and 15 conceded in them last 6 at home. I've only kept 1 clean sheet in the last 7, I think it is, and they're 16th in the home table, which surprised me when I looked at it. 4 home wins all season, so that was probably a point of concern for some Charlton fans. Gills on the road in that same period have scored 9 and conceded 9, 8th in the away table with 5 away wins. So it has the makings of a very intriguing contest. It's 2 teams that are probably a bit in and out at the moment, probably both striving to be more consistent. But let me leave you in the capable hands now of Addicts fan Sam Burgess, and he's going to talk you through all things Charlton.
Yeah, so I think a bit about Charlton's season this season. It's been a complete mixed bag, really. If you look at the start we had to the season, where we were still rebuilding our squad, I think 2 or 3 games into the season, we were playing with a lot of people, a lot of players from our under-21s team, and definitely Steve was still rebuilding the squad. So at that start, once we got the squad together in about, I think 2 weeks it was, we went on a run of about 7 or 8 clean sheets. It was a really positive start. We were a couple of points off the top spot, but losing our two first team centre backs, Famwo and Innes, it's affected us, and we're just leaking goals at the moment. Obviously managed a good 2-0 away win at Rochdale at the weekend, but apart from that, if you look back through the results, I think 6 out of 9 games, out of the last 9 games, we've conceded 2 or more goals. So we've been leaking goals, and if we can stop that, we're definitely going to go on a run. Definitely start picking up some more points. But it's been a tough period, and I think a lot of the fans have been getting frustrated with the performances. If you look back at a lot of the games, there are just consistent individual errors in every game. So whether it's a full-back, a midfielder, a centre-back, just passing the ball to another team striker, it's been a tough period, but we're all hoping now that we're sort of over the hill and we can start putting a run together. A clean sheet on Saturday was definitely welcome. If you look back to January, we conceded 4 goals against Rochdale last time out, so we definitely wanted to avoid that again, and we did. And for most parts, we shut them out. I think they only had one shot in total in the first half, so it was a good solid performance, and hopefully we can now start to build and sort of take the second half of the season as the most important part for us now. And we've got, I think, 1 centre back due to come back this week, and the other one maybe about 3-4 weeks away. So hopefully that'll help with our defensive issues. But yeah, definitely been a mixed bag for us. But as a football club, I think we're just glad that we have a football club after the drama in the summer, which it pretty much went down to the wire as to whether we would go into administration. So obviously now Thomas Sandgaard's in, we're looking to the future. Ideally for us, I think this season making the playoffs would be the best result. I think we're probably already too far behind the top two to really push on for the automatic places. But I think realistically, if you just said to any Charlton fan at the beginning of the season that would be competing for the playoffs, we'd all be happy. That's, I think, where we need to be this season. We've been constrained probably more than anyone else with the salary cap because we lost so many players from last season. You know, we've had to rebuild a competitive League One squad in a very short amount of time with the salary cap, so you can only spend a certain amount of money on each player. So it's definitely been difficult. And again, we've been utilising a lot of loans. We've just recently got Matt Smith from Arsenal on loan in the January window, who, as I understand it, was doing very well at Swindon. And we were lucky enough to get JSE on literally I think probably minutes before the deadline at the end of January. So we're looking forward to seeing what he can bring to the team. Definitely need to bring a bit more pace, because before that, I mean, we had Liam Miller who joined at the start of the January window, but apart from that, it's something we've been lacking probably in the first half of the season since Alfie Doherty got injured, who's now subsequently joined Stoke. He's still injured, but will be spending his time there now. So yeah, that's pretty much our season so far, really, and we've got it all to play for still. We're still in a good position. I think teams around us, like Accrington and Sunderland, still have a few games in hand, which we're hoping they don't capitalise on. But we've not really had any games sort of postponed for COVID. I think we had one, maybe one or two. So we've just not had the delays that other teams have had, which hopefully will be a benefit in the second half of the season. But we will see. In terms of players for the Jewels to look out for, I think probably our best player this season has been Chuks Aneke. He's into double figures now. But to be honest, it's a bit of a weird one because he's got an injury record that means he pretty much can't start a game. Doesn't really start games. He quite often comes on from the bench. I think he's only started 3 or 4 games this season, but he's already, I think he's on 11 goals in total now, including the cup fixtures. So he's doing really well for us. He's got a great minutes per goal ratio, and he's probably our main focal point in attack. So if he starts, it's always a good sign. But we've also added Jaden Stockley in the January transfer window, who, to be honest, in my opinion, is a championship striker. We've got him on loan from Preston, and I think we're probably in the process of looking at trying to make that permanent as well. I understand they've just signed Ched Evans permanently, so that could open the door for Stockley to sign with us permanently. But he's already, I think he's only played 3 games and he's got a goal already. Probably should have had another one against Rochdale on Saturday, albeit for a great save from the keeper. So those two I definitely watch out for. And then JSE, we've only seen, I think, about a 20-minute cameo against Rochdale from him so far, but he was Swindon's best player. So I'm expecting him to play a bigger role against you guys on Saturday. So hopefully we can see a bit more from him. And then central midfield, we've got Jake Forster-Caskey, who's had a nasty ACL injury 2 seasons ago. Didn't really play as much as he'd want to last year, but this season seems to have got back to his best. So he's been dictating a lot of play for us. I think if we can get him on the ball a lot in the game on Saturday, it'll do us well. But I think for you guys, it's definitely still a great opportunity to pick up points, if I'm being honest, because we just seem to make defensive errors a lot of the time at the moment, and most Charlton fans are nervous for 90 minutes because we can be playing as well as we like, but it only takes one person to make the wrong pass to give a goal away, and that has been the story so many times in January and February. So obviously from our perspective, we're hoping that doesn't happen again. But it has been the story a lot recently, so we'll hope that doesn't happen. But I think, from a Gillingham perspective, I think you've got players like Jordan Graham, who I think is in pretty good form at the moment. If he capitalises on a mistake, then he definitely wouldn't surprise many Charlton fans, because that has been the story recently. But yeah, from our perspective, obviously we're hoping to keep a clean sheet. I'm hoping for a 2-0 win. Another nice 2-0 win would be good, but I think realistically, maybe 2-1.
Some excellent stuff in there, buddy. Thanks very much for agreeing to come on and take up your evening and your time to send me the video with your thoughts on the Charlton squad, the season so far, and obviously thoughts for Saturday. Interesting listen about Chuks and Ike, because I looked at his stats, and obviously, like you've said, he's got double figures in all competitions, 10 in the league. Has only started 8 league games, I think it was, comes on as substitute, but you've mentioned that he's pretty injury prone, so he's generally used as a substitute. It's not a bad weapon to have. He scored the goal in the reverse fixture at the Priestfield back in November, if I recall correctly. In terms of experience, there's loads. They've got Darren Pratley, Andrew Shinney, Ben Watson, Chris Gunter, who's played. I think Chris Gunter, weirdly, is the only player that's played over 20 times for them this season in the league, which is a strange one, so it maybe indicates plenty of rotation and or injuries. Connor Washington's a good player at this level, missed a penalty in the game at the Priestfield earlier in the season, but we know he's got quality. And in January, they strengthened their squad, the likes of Jaden Stockley, Ronnie Schwartz, is it Diali Jayasimi, if I've pronounced that correctly. And they've got Matt Smith in, I think, on loan from Arsenal. I'm sure we were linked with him in the summer at the same time as Trey Coyle and Zach Medley, and he went to Swindon, and he's then gone back to the Gunners and now gone to Charlton, so that'll be a step up for him. I believe he was doing pretty well for Swindon in the first half of the campaign, so I'm sure, no disrespect to Swindon, in a better side he'll flourish. Jason Forster-Caskey's a good player at this level, been really good this season by all accounts. Deji Osalaja, been in and out the side because of injury, I think scored last weekend though, so it'd be interesting to see Deji being a former Gill. In terms of the Gills team news, no Dominic Samuel, we know that. Apparently there's slight doubts over Callum Slattery and Jordan Graham. So, my team, if everyone's fit, and I will make a couple of changes this week just to freshen things up. I'm going to go with Jack Bonham in goal, a back four of Ryan Jackson, Jack Tucker, Robbie Cundy and Connor Ogilvie. If fit, Carl Dempsey pairs Callum Slattery at the base. Ollie Lee in the 10 for me, despite being out of sorts against Lincoln and taking a whack on the nose. Jordan Graham from the right. Tyreek Johnson from the left for me this week. I think it's time we get to see him start and see what progress he's made since that slightly underwhelming debut for me against Burton in that limp 1-0 defeat about a month ago. And this week, I will go with John Akindi up front. As good as Verdane Oliver was against Lincoln last week, I think John's in decent form. He come on and was really bright against Lincoln, was unlucky not to score with his header that crashed off the bar. So a couple of changes for me. Therefore, my subs bench would be Sacha Bastien, Robbie McKenzie, Stuart O'Keefe, James Morton, nearly said Jacob Mellis, it's the same initials, Tommy O'Connor, Alex MacDonald and Verdane Oliver. If Callum Slattery's injured, then I'd imagine Stuart O'Keefe might start. And if Jordan Graham isn't fit, then maybe Tyreek Johnson starts from one side and Alex MacDonald from the other. And then we might have to look to the likes of Matty Willock and Christian Magoma to come onto the bench. But fingers crossed we can be at full strength. I noticed that Sam went for a narrow 2-1 win to Charlton. I am going to disagree slightly based on the fact that their home form's not great. We've been all right on the road. Charlton are conceding plenty at the moment. We're up and down in terms of being defensively solid. So I'm going to go for an entertaining score draw. Charlton Athletic 2, Gillingham 2. And I'm going to back John Akindi and Carl Dempsey to score our goals this season, this weekend. Right. That is enough from me this evening. Please keep liking, subscribing, sharing, retweeting and interacting like you always do. You know where we are on social media. 16 away now. That is all from 1,500. So please, please, please keep getting people to subscribe. The quicker we get there, the quicker I'll shut up at the end of the day. Right, it is Friday tomorrow, which means it is the weekend. I am lucky enough to enjoy an extended break. I have Friday and Monday off work. If you have a partner, enjoy Valentine's Day on Sunday. Let's hope that Charlton and don't beat Gills and ruin that weekend. Keep staying safe, be careful in the snow. And until next time, up the Gills.